get everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Pretty light agenda tonight. We have to pass our budget. There's a reason we're here. At this time, I will do a roll call since we are doing the budget. Mr. Raymer.
Present.
Mr. Bucher.
Here.
Mr. Brubaker.
Here.
Mr. Espesette.
Here.
Mr. Shaw.
Present.
Mr. Hensley is absent. Dave Turflinger. Superintendent Whelan is here. And we're hoping our business manager will be able to zoom in. Superintendent Whelan, do you have any additions or deletions?
The only addition, and this is truly last minute, is with corporation treasurer. It should also be purchasing agent. So item 7.6, just as approving Darla Kane as the corporation treasurer, we have to identify one of those to represent our corporation, and that would also be the purchasing agent. And that's just in the absence of a full-time business manager. So once we add our full-time business manager, then that person would assume both of those roles. So.
Could you check and see if Tanya can hear us?
Tanya, can you hear us? Okay, at this time we would hear any patrons. Any comments on the agenda? We'll welcome our guests. Superintendent Whelan, recognition.
Yeah, and Randy, she says she can see us, just not hear us. So I don't know that helps you, but oh, now she can. I believe that means hear us and see us.
You can hear us and see us. Can we hear her? She's probably muted. I can't see her.
Talk, Tanya.
I think I can talk.
There we heard her.
Hey, I think we're good.
She did something.
Okay, now we're all here. Superintendent Whelan, we're at recognition.
Okay, so recognitions, and this is one, and I'll turn it over to Tyson Silvius here in a second, but when we talk about recognitions and people who go above and beyond to be of service to our students, I think the Athletic Booster Club has clearly demonstrated that for very many years. I mean, when I was the athletic director, I knew that anytime we had something come up, there was always a group of people who were willing to step up and fill in. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Silvius to introduce our guest for tonight, and then we'll talk a little bit about what they do in that capacity. Yep, if you want to go over to the...
Okay, our booster club tonight, Jamie, and Stacy, and these ladies do a fantastic job for our athletic department. Anything that we asked of them, they do whatever they can. They buy all of our letter jackets for us in terms of the ones that have earned it through the point system and so forth. They do our concessions for us on game days, county tourney, football games. They organize my concessions for me for all the other sports that we have throughout. Pretty much anything that I need, they're willing to help. And they do a great service for our student athletes. They do a great service for our community, and then they also help out any way they can for things that we may not be able to afford athletic-wise to purchase. And so whether it be like this last year, they bought our TV and box for us for the gym, which allows us to earn money through advertisements, and that was all paid for. So basically that became free, so all the advertisement money came in can now be used for our student athletes. So they do a great job helping us, and their continued support and for me is great, and also for the community. And if you look around our campus, you'll notice the Booster Club is on a lot of different things. Scoreboards, you know, it's basically out there for everyone to see, and I highly recommend anybody that wants to be a part of a great thing, you know, see our president, and we would glad to have you and be able to help with their Booster Club, whether it be the golf outing or just general things that they need help with. But if you ever need to get in contact with them, you can contact me, and I can give you all their information, and the more the merrier. But we definitely appreciate them, and we appreciate all your support. We really enjoy it.
And I'd like to give you guys a chance to give plugs for the Booster Club too, because I know that you're always looking for additional help and also membership. So is there anything you guys would like to say?
We also try to do.
Please.
We want you to have a mic, James.
That way people at home can hear you too.
We also try to do activities to involve our community. Recently, we have been involved with Trustees Chicken. They've come to our football game, and they give us half of the proceeds. They take out their cut for their product and stuff like that, which is understandable. And then they give us the rest of it. So we've done it twice actually with them, once at a home football game and at the 4-H fair. And they actually have asked us to help them again because they've enjoyed our help and enjoyed our free entertainment we've kind of give to them too. So it just helps give money back to our club so then we can help the school and the kids also, which is a big thing because fall time is really our big time that we fork out a lot of money for jackets and chevrons and stuff because fall, that's when you have all the students come in, they want to be activity, they want to be active, and then there's tons of jackets and stuff we have to buy. And we try to do scholarships at the end of the year for seniors only. And what else do we do? Oh, well, Friday night concessions and on football. And then we do basketball concessions too, which is not just on Friday nights. But if you guys really want to help out, Mr. Whelan has helped out us several times this year for football for concessions. So if you guys don't have anything to do Friday night, you can come help us out this Friday for sectional. We are more than welcome to take your help.
And they only yelled at me a few times. Like
We try to be nice.
I was one of the best hot chocolate servers that you can possibly imagine.
It was. And coffee.
And coffee, yeah. If someone wants to become a member, how do they go about doing that?
We have a Facebook page, and then you can also get a hold of Tyson also. We have a membership form you can fill out, and we have 3 different categories, so it doesn't matter what category you do, but it's, you know, every little bit helps if you want to be a member. We don't ask much of our members, but we do ask, you know, we send an email monthly when we have meetings and updates of what's going on. And then our next thing we're trying to do is a community dinner during basketball for boys and girls game. So that one we're gearing to go tackle on and try to get done. So, but yeah, I mean, if you need information, you can ask Tyson. We're all in contact with him, and he's in contact with us a lot too.
What other questions do you have?
Any questions, comments, board?
Do you have are you also on Instagram?
There was an Instagram that was, I think, set up from a previous president, so we haven't been able to get a hold and redo that. But
Okay.
it's, you know, us 3, it's really kind of time consuming. I still have a child in high school. Stacy has a senior this year. Jamie does not, but Jamie has a big job with the government, so she's kind of busy with the government. So we're glad to have her when we can. But yeah, I mean, it's really time consuming. We try to put things out, you know, announce it as much as possible to the community and to our members and throughout announcements. Tyson does a really good job doing it on the Parent Square also for us, announces anything that comes up. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that I know families appreciated the most was, you know, when you have a student who's played multiple sports and they're in it for 4 years, you know, when you look at that jacket after everything's said and done, I mean, that's a few $100s on the backs of each one of those kids. And there's plenty of our families who would not be able to afford, you know, to pay for that themselves, but it doesn't mean that those students don't deserve all of those accolades and recognitions.
We are very proud of our students, and just to let you know, before Tyson took over, we sat down and figured out how much it is for a student to get their jacket that we purchased for them is over $236. And for our kids to say that they just have to compete in the sport and they get a jacket, there's a lot of kids that have always come up to our kids and asked them how they get their jackets, where they order them from, and they always say, well, our booster club does. And I hear a lot of schools say that they make the kids pay for everything. So it kind of makes me feel proud because you know, our school is doing something, our booster club is doing something for these athletes, as in all the hard work that they do. You know, when you watch these kids go to state, semi-state, TRC, champs, that's hard work that they have been out there every day doing. And so they deserve a little reward to wear their accomplishments on their back.
Any other questions?
I don't really have any questions. I'd just like to thank you ladies for everything that you do behind the scenes and out front and everything. It's, when my kids were in school, it was a high point when they got their letter jacket, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
It was a genuine invitation. We're celebrating our Squire football team. We're moving forward in the sectional competition. We get one more concession stand night, and we genuinely invite you to come and help if you wanna see a different side of the community. It's a great space to see a different side of the community.
It is, and I will say that I made a recommendation one time, and then a week later I found myself elbows deep in ice water because they took my somewhat, you know, it was kind of, yeah, and it was kind of a humorous. I do believe I laughed at the end, like, wouldn't this be awesome? Haha. And then it was like, hey, we got it set up. Are you going to work it? I think is how it happened.
It helped a lot.
Yes. No, it was a lot of fun, and you know, I do appreciate, because I know you guys all have plenty of obligations of your own, especially on the evenings, especially weekend evenings. You know, there's other things that are available, and you guys are up to your elbows in nacho cheese and chili and things like that. And so I do appreciate it. I mean, we've had a long history of great Booster Club members. Some are more active, but some are just contributing financially, which is also greatly appreciated. So thank you guys for coming tonight, and we do appreciate all of your efforts to help support our athletic program. So
I do have one question. Is that this Friday night, the 28th?
Yep, yes, it is.
Sectional start?
Yep,
And it's here?
yep.
And what time do you need me here?
6.
I will be here.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I pick what job he's doing? That's I want to weigh in on this.
As you guys say, we've had some teachers that have helped us in concession, and it has been amazing watching the kids and the teachers interact in the concession, because they're like, you know, you're doing this, so it's kind of good to see that interaction. I think the kids see, oh, well, they don't just teach, they can do other things, so.
I have to respond to the superintendent's last comment. I have no problem with that, but he gets assigned to be my helper.
Okay, never mind. We're good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
guys.
for
I
coming. We do
appreciate
appreciate everything you do. Let's see here. No employment, no resignations. Approval of athletic handbook. Is this you or Tyson?
I'll go through it. Randy, I think, so There were no adjustments made to the athletic handbook or suggestions made. So are there any things that the board wants to discuss? So this was the same as what was in that first reading of the policy. So this is that second reading.
Tyson, could you go to the podium, please? I have a question I want to talk about, just to make sure. One of the things that was an appeal process. We have students that drive to school, wintertime, battery dies on the car, they have to get jumped, you know. I completely understand they need to be there and that, but I've had a couple of instances in the past where students were late and it counted as an absence and they were penalized. Could you explain to the board a little bit how that appeal process would work?
Well, first of all, if it's something of that sort in which it's an unforeseen circumstance that's out of their hands, if they're late, the attendance office would just mark them tardy, and then they would not fall forward in terms of for the policy itself in terms of being able. There's also a portion in there for the students, if you're talking about the day of classes attendances, in which there is provisions based upon that the AD and the principal can make a decision that if it was an unforeseen circumstance like that, that they would not be penalized for that if it's not their doing. I mean, our goal is not to make it to where we're penalizing the kids. We're just making it to where, you know, they're in school for a reason, you know, that type of thing. And that's our biggest thing. And I think I had one case last year where I made a decision, and it was a legit one, that it didn't fall under the court order, or it didn't fall under a doctor's note, or it didn't fall under a funeral, that type of thing. Well, it was definitely something that it was out of their control. They weren't doing it just to skip, that type of thing. And then we made a decision on that. We're just trying to get away from student athletes making haircut appointments, you know, that type of stuff. People just not showing up to school until noon after a day of an event, yet they want to practice that night the next day, or a Friday game showing up at noon, wanting to sleep in and get their rest. That's what the whole purpose of the process is. And, you know, it's pretty common across the board for us in terms of what we look at other schools. But for us, I think it's really important that student athletes get to class, be here, because that's what they're here for, first foremost. And my job is not to penalize students for things that, you know, are out of their control. My job is to make sure we have a certain standard, that everyone understands that standard, and we go from there.
And so, just for clarification, how tardy can they be before it counts as an absence?
The front office has, they deal with that in terms of
Okay.
when they mark it. I don't have that in mind, because I just go with what the front office tells me. And I think it's 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes in terms of that. And after that, then they're going to want to know why you were not here, that type of thing. Hey, I just slept in. Well, you can't just sleep in, you know, that type of thing. But if there was a train or an accident, or like you said, a dead battery, that type of thing, that's when those circumstances would come to me or the principal at that point in time, and we'd make a decision from there.
And one other question, do you distribute that tardy absent list, or
No,
to the coaches?
No,
I mean,
what happens is with that student, every day, at the end of the day at 3 o'clock, one of our secretaries has a whole list of the students that day that were absent, tardy, whatever, if they left school, that type of thing, and then there's codes listed with that. Each coach gets that list before practice. Each coach is instructed to look at that, and then from there, we know whether or not they can go from this. There's a whole process in terms, and then sometimes the secretaries will point blank tell me if they know there's a game that day, hey, listen, so-and-so missed, you know, they didn't have a doctor's note. And then like last year, I think I had that happen 2 or 3 times, and they got a doctor's note before they had to go out and play. You know, so it's one of those deals where I try to give coaches a heads up too, because I don't want kids to miss, you know, but I also want to hold kids accountable. And so for the whole thing during the day is the coaches check that list, or sometimes if it's somebody that I know that she knows they had an event, I'll give a coach a text or that type of thing, but she contacts them every day at 3:05, 3:10, something like that, with a list with the codes underneath of it for kids that are in season at that point in time. And that also goes out to any ECA, not just athletes at that point in time.
Thank you.
Yep.
So you're recommending this, and this is second reading, right?
This is the second reading, and I will tell you that we skipped some things before we got to the athletic handbook. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and do the athletic handbook and come back to those, or if we want to get back.
Well, then this thing you didn't update, because the only little book I got is
There should be a facilities rental.
not on mine. on here.
I think there's an employment one too, is there not?
Yeah, there's employment too.
Wow. Okay, I'll just use this one. Yeah, let's go ahead and do the handbook since we're here.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on the handbook?
And this is just the athletic handbook, not the coach's handbook.
Right. Superintendent recommended. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve it? Mr. Raymer? Mr. Brubaker? Any further comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. I apologize, this thing locked up. It had no, so what's the facility?
And I will attest to that. It does not show up on his, so.
Okay. You want to go ahead and talk about this?
Do we want to go back to facilities rental?
That's
Is
where
that-
we're at, yeah.
Okay, so we're under consent agenda items, so we don't have any grants or donations. We did have one facility rental, and it's the annual event where the Tri-Kappa uses our kitchen facilities to make the cheese balls. And if you haven't had those before, they're absolutely amazing. I'll put a plug in. And the good thing about Tri-Kappa is a good amount of the money that they raise during this comes right back to the schools in a lot of different ways. And so we benefit from them using it. They do all the hard work and the sales. I get to eat the cheese balls, and then the students get to benefit from the money. So it's a win-win-win. So, and yeah, because it's a charitable group who does donate back, that I am recommending that the fees are waived during that time. So.
Do we have a motion to approve the facility rental? Mr. Brubaker?
I'll second.
Mr. Bucher? Comments or questions? I'll just make a comment. I appreciate everything that they do. Their support's pretty amazing. It's right up there with the Booster Club.
And it's a lot of work making those cheese balls, I know that. I have one suggestion, is there a way to get more nuts into the cheese balls? Something to think about.
Bigger cheese ball.
Well, we'll add that as a little addition upon being able to put more on there.
Mr. Shaw made an addendum to the motion to add more nuts.
I'll make sure to include that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we are to employment.
Employment, so we did only have one employment piece, and that was a volunteer assistant coach for baseball, and that's Corey Thomas.
He's subject to a background check, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's
do we
already
have
a football coach right now, too.
Oh, yeah, he's already assisting with football, that's correct, so.
Okay. We have a motion to approve 7.2 employment, the superintendent's
moved.
recommendation.
So moved.
Mr. Bucher? Mr. Esposette? Comments? Questions?
Has he volunteered for us before baseball?
I'm not sure if he has or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure in baseball. At football, he's been with us now 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I thought so. Yeah.
Good. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we already did the athletic handbook. Now we're to the coach's handbook.
And Randy, if you want to scroll down to page 4, and the additions are all in blue, so that's kind of what we'll be looking at. There were some suggestions on this. So part of it is about the philosophy behind our athletic program, and the addition of that will follow the IHSA model of education-based athletics, and teach sportsmanship above all else, and not be a win-at-all-cost type of program. And so, the education-based athletics is something that IHSA is supposed to be about. This is supposed to enhance our learning opportunities of our school. That's why we have extracurricular activities to make it a better learning program for our students. So are there any questions about that philosophical addition to the handbook? If there's no questions, we'll scroll down to, sorry, I should have marked the pages that these were on. Looks like page 23, I believe, is the next one. Right at the top there. And this is just an addition to our junior high programs. The addition reads, coaches should seek to maximize the number of students participating and encourage interest in a variety of extracurricular activities. So this was added since the first reading as well. And that's, at the junior high especially for, all ECAs and courses like that, exploration piece is something we want to encourage. We don't know what they're going to like, and so we want to encourage that participation across the board, not just athletics, but also, drama and clubs and everything else that we have. So we don't want to make them, gear them towards one thing rather than another when we don't know what their long-term interests might be. Any questions about that addition? Okay, then we're scrolling down, and I believe the last one is on page 27. There's a couple modifications to even what's written here, and I want to go over those. So the suggestion was student athlete participation in summer is optional, and changing that to strictly optional, which I'm fine with that. We do want to make sure that we convey that to our student athletes that these practices over the summer, workouts and things are optional. We do understand that they have other things to do during the summer. We do have families that go on trips. We do have some students that have jobs that they need to carry, so we understand that. There's one short word that I want to add in here too. It says coaches should communicate with other sports head coaches and their own players to maximize, and it should be the use of their competition days, not maximize their competition days. So we want to figure out, and this was, I give credit to Mr. Silvius, because the IHSA keeps changing kind of the guidelines for the summer use, and he wants to make sure that we're not wasting students' times. If there's times that we can double up where students, different groups are doing their workouts together rather than have two separate days. So we want to maximize the use of those competition days. The state used to provide some pretty strict guidance and shut down a lot of summer stuff. They've opened a lot of that stuff up. We do want to provide opportunities for our students to get better, bigger, faster, stronger, all that good stuff. But we also want to make sure that they're, taking some time to themselves and their family during that. So are there any questions about this addition?
Lord? I do have one comment, and since this is a second reading, I don't want to go back and start the process all over again, but I would suggest, and I'd like to hear what the board thinks about going forward, when you meet with the coaches, that it's advocated that there's a 24-hour cooling off period if a coach is approached by a parent or a grandparent, that we're not having a discussion in the gym after.
Yeah, it should be in there.
Is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole list of what you can expect in terms of communication-wise between parents and coaches.
Okay. Yep. It's a pretty lengthy document.
I know. I worked a while on it.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank you for all your time on this. I know this is time consuming to go through this. Anybody else?
Dave, that is also in final forms too. So like when every single parent and student athlete signs up in final forms, the PowerPoint is in there that says, these are the things these are the rules, and then these are also the communications and what we do and don't do in terms of communication. And so every parent and player knows when they sign that digital document, they have gotten that, they're saying, I understand these rules and I will not do this. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Okay, we have superintendent's recommendation as second reading. Do we have a motion to approve it? Mr. Brubaker, do we have a second? Mr. Raymer, any last chance, comments, questions?
I do want to thank Mr. Silvius. It's a lot of work and there is a lot of document there. And I also want to, I've been a part of his parent meetings before and he does a nice job of highlighting. I mean, we know that not every parent's reading every single one of those, but he does a nice job of highlighting those that tend to come into effect the most. He also does a good job of communicating with his coaches about what those expectations are, representing our program. So it's not necessarily the handbook itself, but compliments to him and thanks to him for continuing to do those things and improve our athletic program.
I do like this addition on there. One of the things that when I was in school, sports did, and I don't know if they still do, but they do monopolize vacation times and family time specifically. If family wants to do something or be together, a lot of times they take up a lot of that time, and so it's really important to state that and be aware of that. So.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Missy.
Thank you, Tyson.
Budget. Tanya?
Yes.
Okay, we're at 7.5, adopt the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to add?
I don't have anything, well, I was just answering some questions via email here.
That was me.
There was a question about the cost for the counselors, on line 194. That is for 3 counselors. That's the junior, senior high. One of those counselors has been out of ESSER, but with ESSER ending, I went ahead and put it into the budget for this next year.
93.
And that could be, it just that way, it was more of a placeholder in there in case we had to go there, but it could always stay in ESSER if the monies are still there. Then the questions on lines 41 and 42 for the business manager. So in operations, one is a non-certified, so that would have been my position was non-certified. And then the other was Shelley as a certified person.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so did you get your questions answered, Mr. Booker?
One more.
Yeah, I'm looking that one up, sorry.
Actually,
Go ahead.
the transfer tuition, the line 193 on education, going back to that real quick.
Uh-huh.
What was that transfer tuition?
Transfer tuition is what we have to pay, like White's or other districts like that we have mandatory requirement if there's foster children.
Yeah,
Okay.
That
this
would be
is
placed in another district, we
this
have
is
to
a
pay.
required thing. We don't. This
Okay.
is a non-negotiable. This is what we're told we have to pay for that.
I
So,
just saw it and I was
Yep.
just curious. Okay. And then line 86.
And you wanted operations line 86. Again, this is, you're saying, I'm questioning your email here. Operations, it was 140,000. Last year was,
126.
am I on the wrong line?
Which line you in?
86
Thank you.
in operations.
So, I'm sorry, I'm on education tab.
Now, that would make a difference.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand what the question is. Okay. We went from 126, to 140,000, when we're talking the number of staff. The director of technology, the network support person, and then there's a third person at the high school. So the salary didn't seem too far out of line.
Well, I noticed last year it was 126.3, so that's why I was asking whether.
Right. Okay. There are 3 personnel in that. So, or 3.5, I guess or 2.5, I guess.
Was there 2.5 last year too?
I'm not sure that it was the whole. I think that they had
Or currently
it
this
was
year?
budgeted to a different category. And that was moving them into the correct category.
$14,000 jump. Okay. I was just curious about the 14,000 jump, that's all.
Well, I would just refer the board back to, there was, I don't want to call them corrections in the way things were being accounted
I know that.
for, so that's what some of these are, correct, Tanya?
That is correct. That I recategorize people into the correct category based on the SBOA manual on descriptions.
Thank you, Tanya, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Did the board have any other questions? Anybody have questions on the budget?
Doesn't appear so.
So what percentage, DLGF has approved this, so what percentage are we gonna end up at transferring from education to operations in 2023? What was the final
if the-
percentage?
DLGF approves this, it will be at like 14.5. And the resolution that I'll send over after that's all approved will say up to 14.5. And that way, if in November, December, we've hit that number that you don't need it, you won't have to transfer it. It's not a requirement to transfer.
So fuel costs and stuff come back in line, then we don't necessarily have to go that high.
Correct.
Any other questions?
I don't think we had a motion yet. No.
Okay,
I'll make
so-
a motion to approve the 2023 budget.
Okay, Mr. Booker's made a motion to approve the 2023 budget. Do we have a second? Mr. Brubaker? Okay, thank you, Tanya, for the presentation. We're a little out of sorts here, but there was questions, so we needed to get them.
Nope.
Any further
Right.
questions or discussion? Okay, since this is the budget, we're gonna do a roll call vote. I will start. I vote yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Espacet?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Yes.
Mr. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Raymer?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Tanya, this is Boyd. I have one question before you go. What's the temperature there?
Okay.
What's the temperature there today?
It's 76.
It's raining like 42 out here right
Strike
now.
that from,
You win.
strike
No,
that from the minutes,
It's
please.
sunny and 76.
Nice. Well, once again, Tanya, thank you for everything you've done for us, getting us headed down the right course.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I wish you well in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thanks,
If you
Tanya.
get to missing the cornfields of Indiana, just give Kyle a call.
Okay, I will.
I bet you will.
Yeah. Okay, budget's done. We need a motion to appoint Darla Kane as our interim business manager and purchasing agent. Do you have anything you want to add?
And it is corporation treasurer. The business manager isn't an official.
Right, okay, I'm
So
sorry.
corporation
I
treasurer.
misstated.
And purchasing agent. So, nope, that's it. And once again, it's just temporary until
Interim.
we do hire. Yep.
Mr. Esposito?
Yep.
Second.
Mr. Shaw, second. Further discussion or questions? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Raymer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruker?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's 6-0. Probably should have asked this question ahead of time. Did anybody bother to ask Darla?
I did consult, I did. I voluntold Darla for this position. She,
I kind of figured maybe that's what.
yes, no, she was fine with and understood the need, so.
Okay, Heartland update tomorrow. We're gonna have a meeting down there. We approved at the last meeting the resolution to adopt a school, common school loan to possibly try and add on to the building down there. Like I said, it's 630 kids, 93 of which are ours, and they're in a building built for 500. Haven't heard a whole lot. I know are you going? We already passed it. Are you going to the meeting tomorrow? Okay, so some of the other superintendents and representatives are gonna have a Heartland board meeting tomorrow night, and I'll have more for you at our next meeting. Mr. Hensley's not here, so unless you want to give a legislative update,
Nothing at this time.
superintendent comments.
We're almost done with our negotiations for collective bargaining. Still looking over a few things, but I want to appreciate everybody's work there. You know, and I don't want to take up any more everybody else's time because we are, you know, in the second meeting for the month. So we had to do it. I appreciate people coming to get the budget approved so we can get that filed by the deadline. So other than that, that's it.
School board comments.
See you Thursday.
With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Raymer, Mr. Brubaker, all in favor? Aye. We're out of here.